even if she never took another role. Even if she disappeared off the planet after 1967. Her role as Marion on Gilligan's Island made her a sensation. She was the apple in the eye of every teen and preteen boy, and she helped create the question, are you a Ginger or a Marion? When Freddie Mercury sings You're My Best Friend with that voice, that could only come from rock royalty, the listener assumes. He's talking about one of his band members or even his ex-fiancée. But it's just as likely that he was speaking about his cats. Susan Day has come a long way. From her early years singing on The Partridge Family, Day rarely talks about her time on the show, some of which likely stems from not wanting to talk about a thing she made when she was a teenager, but also because at the time she was in capital L love with Star. Can you imagine a world where Sally Field wasn't one of the most famous people on the planet? Well, that's what life was like in the early 70s. At the time, she was mostly known for playing Gidget and the Flying Nun. When you're working closely with someone for years, even if you're pretending to be brother and sister, of course you're going to develop a natural chemistry, especially if that person is Carrie Fisher. It's impossible to separate Catherine Bach from Daisy Duke, the denim short-wearing cousin who can drive just as fast as them Duke boys, while looking 10 times as better, however. As Bach would say, she was nothing like what the producers initially wanted. In the 1970s, there was Stevie Nicks, and then there was everyone else. Not only was she the witchy frontwoman of Fleetwood Mac, but she had a kind of mystique that you don't just get from being a singer or an actress. For a few brief years in the 1970s, Studio 54 was the place to be no matter who you were. It didn't matter if someone was famous or not. If they were in Studio 54, they were someone. Has anyone ever worn a loincloth as well as Tonya Roberts? Maybe Christopher Lambert, but that's neither here nor there. Roberts has long been a staple of B-movies and genre films, but it's impossible to forget her work on Charlie's Angels and A View to a Kill. Before she was the queen of pop, and even before she was like a virgin, Madonna was just a young woman living in Bay City, Michigan, a middle child of 6. She was often left to her own devices and dreamed of doing something that would take her away from Michigan. In 1983, private school exposed the world of high school in a way that no film had up until that point. As one of the earliest sex comedies of the era, Private School followed in the footsteps of Porky's and showed that girls could be just as raunchy as boys. Has there ever been anyone cooler than Debbie Harry? The answer is no. Harry and her band Blondie turned punk music upside down with their disco and pop-inspired anthems that showed audiences that you didn't have to play as fast as possible to be tough.